Welcome to Sideline Vibes, a special coaching up Wolves playoff preview here. I have friend of the program, Tony from WolfWiseStats. Now I can almost say like NBA wise stats.
Getting there.
You're
Yep.
getting there. If you're a Wolves fan and you haven't seen WolfWise Stats, I don't know where you are. Maybe you don't have a Twitter. But
Yeah, we're trying to get on Instagram. Got to get our profile up there too.
there's
Make
so
it
many
work.
people over there that just like see stuff, and it's like easily like
Yeah, it's
for
important.
for what you do too is I think it's like a perfect place for that. But anyways,
Yep.
how are your vibes going into this playoffs here, just in general?
It's it's honestly really strange vibes. Like I feel like the past month or so since Ant has been out, it's just been like experimenting and one person, it's Io's night or it's TSJ's night, it's whoever's night to go off, and then it's really like I don't know how they're going to put all those pieces back together now that they're going to be healthy, and hopefully playing full minutes. So it's going to be really interesting. I don't really know what to expect, especially with like lineups. It's just so much is up in the air, and who's going to be in the rotation, who's not. So it's a weird feeling going to the playoffs, and I kind of don't really know what to expect.
Yeah, it's this whole like last month has just been like a uh let's just get to the end of the season. It it kind of
Right.
feels like a team that's like been to a couple finals, but we haven't been to a finals, where we're just kind of like getting to the end and just knowing in the playoffs so we can kind of turn it on. But that kind of seems to be the Wolves.
Dangerous
It's a
game.
dangerous game, and we played that dangerous game last year and it worked out, and maybe it shouldn't have, and we didn't quite learn our lesson for that. But I guess we're definitely going to learn our lesson this year, no matter what. Well, maybe we won't if we go far, which that would be a good thing.
We
Then it
have
wouldn't
to.
matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, there's
I
been
can really see it going two directions, either a crash out and there's big changes and Finch is gone and some big pieces are gone.
yeah,
Um, or we somehow turn it on again. Ant's a superhero and we, make the conference finals or further. Who knows?
yeah.
I could
That
see it both ways.
it could definitely go just like every feels like what that's like a perfect example of like just every game for the Timberwolves this whole season. You go into
Yeah.
you turn on the TV for the tip off and you're like, okay, we're playing the Magic. I don't know what's gonna happen. Like you
Yeah.
had no clue every game what was gonna happen, but that's why we love this team. That's
Yeah.
why,
What's the point of even looking at the stats?
yeah,
I
it's a good
shouldn't
point.
say that for my site,
Yeah,
but it's like they're so volatile. It's crazy.
yeah,
The playoffs, I think, are different, and that's where we get to really see the scheming. And you're playing the same team up to 7 times, and you'll get to see patterns and things actually develop, and people are going to be locked in. So I'm excited, man. I After last year losing again in the conference finals, this whole regular season, I've kind of felt like the team. I feel like where it's just like get us back to the playoffs. I don't care what seed we're going to be. I know we're not going to be 1 or 2 seed. So from 3 to 6, as long as we're not in the playoffs, no, I didn't really care that much. Just get us back to the playoffs where it really matters.
yeah.
So
Uh, exactly, and I think it's just like I feel like we just treated like a whole new season. Like listening to like kind of the players talk today, they like are super serious. They know the expectations. They're treating this for game one like it feels like it's like they're going all out. Like we have to leave it all on the floor, which is good to hear because that's kind of not felt. Obviously, it hasn't felt that way at times throughout the season. Um, but again, a fun rematch with the Nuggets. It feels like we just got done playing them in that game 7 in Denver, but that was, that was a long time ago. And obviously there's all the parallels between the two franchises. We're in the same division. We see each other all the time. We have this kind of a fun rivalry where there's that friendly banter back and forth. There's not really like a hate for each other, but it's more of like a uh what's the word, like brother sibling beef, if that makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah. Um,
yeah. I mean, it goes back a ways too. Even before that, I think what year was it when we played them last game of the season to get into the playoff.
Mm.
I don't know if
Oh
you
my gosh,
remember that, but
that had to be like 20. Was that 2018 or 19, or was that too early?
was a while ago, man. Yeah, I don't
It
know.
had to be before
But it
COVID.
goes back a ways. I feel like we're always playing huge games against Denver.
Yeah,
Um, and I totally agree. It's not like an OKC kind of beef where, at least from a fan perspective, there's some bad blood, I think, there.
yeah,
Whereas Denver, it's just such a fun series to watch. And I think there's a little bit more mutual respect on both sides.
yeah. I think what's really fun too about this matchup is you just look at the top two guys on both, like, or the top guys on both sides with Ant and Jokic, and both of them are like super lovable. Whether it's Ant, who's just like really cool, and then there's Jokic, who's just like so good, but like doesn't seem like he cares at all about basketball, and their like nonchalantness is just like really fun versus like some other stars that we have, and so it makes it really
I mean,
entertaining.
I'll be honest. I'm not a fan of Jokic's like nonchalant attitude. I like the people that really care. Like when he acts like he just wants to go see his horse back in Serbia or whatever. Like that stuff kind of bothers me. Like, no, I know you care.
You're not
Like, don't pretend like you don't
you're
care.
not the first person who has said that. Like I just I agree with you 100%. Like I kind of think it's kind of just like a I don't want to. It's either I don't want to talk to the media right now, and I'm just kind of like playing like doing that, or I am just trying to put on a front that it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah,
But like I just think I just think it's funny how that like
he's funny.
he is a
He's the
funny
way.
he's a
Yeah,
funny guy, and Ant's a funny guy,
yeah,
and
he
it's
is.
just but they were like
Yeah,
they're funny in
and
like kind of
I
different
think
ways.
they're both ethical
Yeah,
basketball players
yeah.
too. Like they both play the right way.
This video is sponsored by Sasquatch Media. Sasquatch Media is the premier video production company in the Midwest for documentary and commercial production. Sasquatch Media is an Emmy award-winning production company. From commercial to branded content and TV series, they specialize in cinema quality production. They handle all aspects of the production process. A couple years ago, Sasquatch produced a hockey documentary titled Dream State. From a national airing on the NHL Network to winning Best Topical Documentary, Best Director, and Best Editor at the 2024 Midwest Emmys, to many film festival appearances across the world, Dream State was warmly welcomed back to the spotlight. A Minnesota Wild production and presented by TRIA, Dream State followed the legendary program of the War Road Warriors. A great example of this is their intro for the War Road season. It was shot on the frozen historic War Road River. It was directed, produced, and shot and edited by Sasquatch Media. You want a group that is hardworking and extremely passionate about what they do to share your story with others. Sasquatch Media should be your first option. Check out Sasquatch Media at sasquatch.media. SSQTCH.media. Just some quick like overview, big picture. I always find these fun, like kind of looking at. I know it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, but like the head-to-head matchup, all-time Nuggets Wolves, Nuggets 92, Wolves 61. We've kind of made some headway over the last couple years, and playoff head-to-head, we got a game on them. We're 9-8 against them, and then we've won 2 series against them, which probably the most memorable one was the last obviously game 7, Anthony Edwards going off, 20-point comeback, just a fun. That's such a fun series. I should do like a rewatch of that again. If I can find some time this week, just watch that game 7 to get hyped up.
I've seen that corner 3 like a million times. Never gets old.
It never gets old. It was Harlan on the call too. It was just like so perfect. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. But the Nuggets this year have our number a little bit, 3-1. We had a game without Ant though, so I'm gonna kind of. It's a pretty even matchup. Would you say it's a pretty even matchup? Just like overall in general.
Yeah, definitely. I think so.
Yeah.
Not a typical 3-6 series, I don't think.
No, and I think from the.
I mean, we were top 10 most of the year in offensive and defensive rating. We've slipped since the injuries happened, but yeah, I think it's very competitive.
Yeah, I think what's fun too about this year, like with the West, like the top 6 teams are like I think Rockets and Lakers are obviously in a tier below. I think we're kind of on the edge. If you look at it on paper, we're like in that lower tier, but like just our background of how we've made it to 2 straight, we know that we can kind of go up a level when we need to. It kind of puts us in that tier with like Denver and San Antonio. Maybe not. Or maybe OKC's on its own right now. But anyways, if they're all 4 in that, it's going to make for a really fun first round series here. Popping in here to talk about player personnel. First thing I want to point out is again, this year did another scouting report. I'm going to do it for every playoff series that the Wolves are in. I really enjoy doing it. It's something really nerdy for me to do in the basketball coaching off season to keep my skills fresh, I guess you could say. And so I have the Google Doc. I will put it down in the description if you want access to that throughout when you're watching the series. You can also find it on X, on Bluesky, wherever I post things as well. Deep dive into that. If you are a basketball junkie, pick it apart. I would love if people comment on this so I can add things to it. It's going to be kind of like a working doc and a live doc where you can kind of find any information about the series and one-stop place for Wolves versus Nuggets. And with that being said, I'm going to go through a couple of things. First, starting with player personnel here, jumping in. On this page here, on the player personnel page, I have a detailed breakdown of kind of who we got on the other side for the Denver Nuggets. We have their tendencies. I kind of just made these up, not going to lie. So, again, whatever. It's just what I think first thing that comes to my mind when I'm thinking of a player. And I like to do this when I'm coaching too, which is kind of fun. Obviously, I don't do it with like, it's not as like cheeky, I guess you could say, but I did include stats as well from WolfWiseStats, which we're going to talk about more here. But feel free to go through these and break it down. I'm just going to focus on this episode here. I'm just going to focus on kind of the matchups and why they're maybe matched up with it. You can dive in deeper and read about it on your own. But a couple things I want to point out is kind of our point of attack defense and who's going to be the matchups with the starters. So obviously we're going to have Jaden on Jamal, and I think coming off the bench, Io is going to be a great matchup onto him as well. I think those two are just going to take turns on Jamal. Whenever he's on the court, those two are going to be on the court. As we talk about later in the episode, stats kind of back up Io's ability to evade screens. Same with Jaden. It's all going to be about that point of attack defense, slowing down the two-headed monster of Murray and Jokic. So that's an important matchup to keep an eye on. The key for Jaden is to stay out of foul trouble. But now that we have Io too, I think we're going to be able to he's going to be able to play less stressed out, I guess, worried about getting those fouls. So keep an eye out for that matchup. Christian Braun here, or Brown, I don't know how you pronounce his name. He's a Kansas Jayhawk. I'm a Kansas fan, so he kind of has a soft spot for me in my heart because he won us a national championship. But this would be a great Devo matchup, I think. Between DiVincenzo and Edwards, I think I could see both of them matched up with either Braun or Cam Johnson. But I really like DiVincenzo on Braun because of Braun's ability to cut, and he's very physical. And so Dante's pretty physical, and I think it's just a really good, like, those two can go do their thing on the court where Edwards can kind of like, I would say, I mean, Cam's a little bit better than Braun, but it's just, I feel like what Cam Johnson's going to be doing is less than what Christian Braun's going to be doing, if that makes sense. So there's going to be less wear throughout the series if he's guarding Cam Johnson. But I could see these two interchanging. This is just from my perspective what I think. I have no idea what they will do and how that would match up, but that's just what I think that they should do. This is not my prediction, but I guess this is what I would do if I was coaching. Obviously, for Gordon, I think Gordon is a key X factor for the Denver Nuggets. If he's playing well, they're going to be really tough, really, really tough, and he's been playing very well. especially with his ability to start shooting more for three. Gosh, he just kills us all the time. So maybe it's like an inverse thing. He starts beating everybody else in the 3-point line, and he gets cold for against us. I hope so. But I think Randall, there's two options that the Wolves can tinker with, and there's been a lot of talk through Wolves media about how this is going to work. I think the best matchup is Gobert just staying on Jokic for this current lineup. We don't have another big enough body who can kind of really slow down Jokic. So it's all about wearing him out. And so I think between Randall and Gobert, they're going to be kind of switching off that matchup back and forth. But I think we're going to see a start with Randall on Gordon, and then for Gobert starting on Jokic and just kind of staying attached. That's going to be kind of the two things to watch. Is if we maybe start off in Jokic, we can't slow down anybody, and we might see a switch in that where. But I think with how we're going to defend, which we'll talk about in a little bit, it just makes sense for Gobert to guard Jokic and just try his best. But it does worry me, and it probably worries the staff that he's going to get into foul trouble. If that's the case, expect a lot of Kyle Anderson. Expect a lot of Randall on Jokic. But these two matchups will also be interesting. The big thing to watch in this series is the starters. But I think an underrated part of this series is the depth of both teams. I strongly believe that the Wolves have much more consistent depth and more ability to, like, a higher ceiling on the bench than the Nuggets, but the Nuggets just have very solid guys that fit their scheme. Like a Peyton Watson, for example, he scares me the most on the guys on the bench. Hardaway Jr. is going to scare me for different reasons, but I think you can kind of game plan against him to take him out of the game by just like essentially face guarding him. So he take away that corner three, but he always seems to find ways in the regular season to get loose. But Watson really scares me because he could be a guy that could leap and eventually even be in the starting lineup if they needed to. He just can guard 1 through 5 pretty well. He's kind of like their rim protector too. So like, I think if they're going to be worried, an adjustment they could make down in the road in the series here is if they're having a hard time stopping the Wolves like we saw in the last game, you could see a Watson kind of be plugged in that lineup to be that kind of like Jaden McDaniels low man help rim protector there. But another couple guys that are going to be probably in the mix are Bruce Brown and Valanciunas, some older veterans that kind of will provide some just smart veteran basketball off the bench. Valanciunas kind of kills us because of his offensive rebounding ability, and he usually comes in when it's like the Randall and Reed lineup out there. So there needs to be some more guard help when he's on the floor, all out effort to rebound because otherwise he's going to kill us in the glass, and we've seen that a couple times this season. I put Spencer Jones on there. He's kind of an X factor. That last spot in this, I just think they're going to go 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think 9 deep is probably what we're guessing. That last spot, just similar to the Wolves, is going to be kind of a revolving door between trying to find somebody who's going to provide a spark if they need to. I have Spencer Jones here to start because I just feel like his scrappiness is something that is a good matchup for the Wolves. We don't really like when teams are very physical with us on the offensive side, and I think he's going to be a pretty physical guy down there. I can see also Strother getting a role here. Pickett can be thrown in there. Some Minnesota guys. David Roddy's been playing pretty well for them down the stretch, so you could probably see him get a little bit of a run because he's one of their hottest bench players right now. He's a Minnesota guy as well, so there could be some like something. They got a lot of Minnesota guys. Tyus Jones, Zeke Naji. They expect any of these guys down here to be kind of thrown into the mix at any point, and Adelman's been known to do that. But that's the personnel. It'll be interesting to see the matchups as the series goes on. But stylistically, these teams are very different. Would you agree with that? Like, we're more, I know it doesn't feel like we're a defensive-minded team, but we're very much a defensive-minded team, defensive kind of constructed team currently.
Yeah, construction-wise, for sure.
Yeah, and then the Nuggets are the flip side. It's offense first, and then let's see if we can try to get some stops, or we're just going to outscore you.
Hope they miss, yeah.
what's some of the big like differences you see between this Timberwolves team and the Nuggets team, just like in general this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest difference is, our offenses are very different. They play through Jokic a lot, and they do a lot of pick and roll, a lot of handoff action. Um, they're, the best 3-point shooting team in the league too. Um, and probably a lot of that comes from the attention Jokic gets inside, and he's able to just kick it out for open guys. Um, whereas we do a lot more isolation and rely a lot more on the talent that we have on the perimeter. So different styles, definitely.
Yeah, and it's funny. Like sometimes there's the stats don't really tell like the story, but like these two teams, it like it really does tell the story. Like you just kind of look at like big picture things where you see their defensive rating, like how they don't create like a lot of turnovers. Um, they lack rim protection, and you watch the games, you go, "Wow, that matches exactly what the eye test is." And then you look on the flip side
Yeah,
for the Wolves, and a lot of those defensive numbers have kind of jumped up a little bit here, and then we're just more kind of like a more balanced team in that way, but we still have some flaws with
yeah,
like our turnovers and whatnot. But
yeah.
yeah,
So if you look at this matchup preview on the site here, where we have the 12 different stats and the rankings for each team, I think what really stands out is Denver is not a confusing team. Like they're really good at offense and they're bad at defense, and they're not good in any of the hustle stats on defense, especially. Whereas the Wolves are a very confusing team. We're more well-rounded across the board, but we're not like special at anything. And I think we are on certain nights. There's certain nights where we can really lock in defensively. There's certain nights where Ant's cooking or Julius is cooking and our offense looks amazing. It kind of just evens out throughout the season because we're so much more volatile. Um, but yeah, I mean, just looking at these rankings, the Nuggets are first in points per game, 122 points per game, first in 3-point percentage. Um, they're fourth and third in assists and turnovers. Overall assist to turnover ratio, I believe they're first. Um, so everything on offense is great. Take care of the ball, shoot well, efficient. But on defense, they're 21st in defensive rating, last in steals, and 28th in blocks. So they don't generate those turnovers. Whereas with the Wolves, pretty well rounded overall. One thing I think that could be favorable for us is I think you just touched on this, but our turnovers, that's our worst ranking here on this chart. We're 19th in turnovers per game. But they're not a team that's going to put a lot of pressure on us and try to force a lot of turnovers. And I think that's going to bode well playing against Denver, and especially in the clutch, because we are one of the most efficient shooting teams in the clutch, but the turnovers have always been the issue there. And so, if we can eliminate the turnover factor, I think our offense could be pretty lethal in this series.
I think this whole entire series is going to come down to um, just the turnover battle in general. I think I like looked up a stat earlier. If the Wolves create 14 or more turnovers, we're like 26-6 on the year. And if it was like 15 or more turnovers, it's 23-3, which is like a pretty insane like spread. I guess like
23-3 if we create 15 or more
yes,
turnovers.
yeah,
Yeah, that's huge.
yeah,
Yeah, and Denver, I did look up something similar. Denver, I did 16 or more turnovers. I think they're 9-11 on the season,
hmm.
which is hard to do though. Like they've only done it 20 times. They don't turn it over a lot, but if you can get them to turn the ball over, yeah, I think I totally agree. I think this comes down to turnovers because I think it's such a close matchup that's going to be a major factor.
Yeah. And I think we've definitely like I know it's hard to think of this series and like look back at that last series that we played against them because it's kind of a completely different roster on both sides, and so it's hard to go like, well, in the last series we actually did create some turnovers, but I feel like when we do beat them, I think we beat them when we do create those turnovers. And it's rare if we are in a shootout against them that we win, if that makes sense. Like it's going to come down to that if we want to win the series. We're just going to have to be very active. And I think you're going to talk about a scatter plot here in a little bit that kind of shows that activity comparison between the two teams. But okay, let's jump to the offensive side of the ball with the offensive game plan. The Nuggets defense, this is their big Achilles heel. They rank 20th in defensive rating. They're very low in a lot of the ratings that are show a sign of a really solid defense. However, I feel like when the playoffs come around, I think they always just turn it up a notch. And I think that's going to be a point of emphasis this entire week is they need to figure out how they're going to defend. I think Adelman's pretty smart. I don't think he's going to come into this and be like, nah, I think we'll do fine, whatever. I think it's just kind of like their regular season approach. You're going to see a different level. And so that's what's going to make this series really, really fun. These first two games are super important in how the series could go. And if the Nuggets are going to defend how they're going to defend, they are going to have a tough postseason, whether they beat us or not. They have to figure out how they're going to defend. But their identity is to force, protect the paint. They don't have a super athletic rim protector. They don't have super strong perimeter defenders. And so their goal on defense is to pack it in and make you shoot a bunch of either kick out threes or off the dribble threes. They're not going to contest a bunch of shots for that reason because they are packed in. Their goal is to just take away the paint by being there to start. And so as you can see here on the doc here, we're going to talk about the scatter plot later, but I just want to this is a perfect time to talk about how we had the Denver Nuggets way down here in low deflections and low contested shots. It's just a sign of a team that's kind of in a pack situation. I don't want to question their effort because I haven't watched every single Nuggets game, but I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they're just so offensive minded. They're kind of like the opposite of us, where our focus from our coaching staff on is defense. Even if the fans don't feel that way, that's just the case. That's just our identity. So we're kind of like the opposite in that regard. Now, I think the Nuggets strategy coming into this is 3 parts. I think they're going to minimize ball screens. They're going to force turnovers against a turnover-prone team. They're going to try a bunch of different things, just put you in a spot that makes you uncomfortable. They're not going to be super aggressive, but they're going to sit back so much to force you into some either tough passes or have you overthink and maybe take a forced quick shot. And that's their third goal, is to make us take a bunch of 3-pointers. We do not shoot at high volume threes, but against the Nuggets, for some reason, we've taken a bunch of threes because we kind of fall into their trap of what they want there. So these 3 things are going to be what they're probably going to do, is at least start the series, and then they're going to play it from there because I feel like they think that they have the advantage offensively, that they can maybe adjust if they split in this first 2 games. Okay, how they're going to guard us in our actions. We run a lot of pick and roll and a lot of dribble handoff. We're kind of the opposite of the Nuggets, how they always start with off-ball actions. We typically start with no off-ball actions. We start with kind of like what I like to call a Phoenix action, where it's just Ant coming down and we're coming up and setting like a high ball screen, attacking dominoes from there. Dominoes is when you like catch it and it's like a bunch of dominoes falling. That's what you kind of want. You want to see if they overhelp, kick it out, catch and shoot, or catch and attack. That's the essence of an Ant offense. Now, they've added some other things into our repertoire this year, which is the get action that every team's been running, where we kick it to the post and we come and get it. It just creates a little bit more space on the pick and roll versus having that post set there. You can have a jam, you can have a hard show. Having the post off and then throwing it to them makes it so they have to kind of play off a little bit, as you can get more of a more steam towards the basket. It's a great action that has been added to our thing, and I'll show a couple clips of that. And then our what I call push action is when we get Ant or Randall in this what I call the dead zone. Whoops, I'll move my big head here. They're in the spot where kind of in like the short corner area in their post game. I think this will be a good action for the Wolves in this series because I don't think they have a lot of guys that can guard Ant. For sure, they don't have a guy that can guard Ant, and I think for sure they have a lot of guys that probably don't match up well against Randall, and so there's going to be a lot of times where they're in those spots. Now, how I think that they're going to defend right away is I think they're going to either hard show, high wall, double. Their goal is to get Ant nothing going to start the series. I think this first game is always the most important game of the series. Now, as you saw in the last game, we kind of figured it out when they did the high wall. We did some simple dump passes to Rudy when he short rolled at the 3-point line. And Rudy did a great job of making those decisions, either going to finishing or kicking it out to a teammate if they come down and overhelp. I think we've kind of figured that out. So I can see the Nuggets going and trying to do that again and just see if they can make Ant frustrated by not. But I think Ant showed that he's not getting frustrated by that anymore this year. Otherwise, I'm going to see probably some drop. They're going to drop, but Ant's just such a killer against that. You can see maybe a softer show. It's going to be interesting how they're going to decide to guard it. Maybe some ice. You might see some ice where the guard's going to kind of step over, keep them on the side. They're going to throw everything at the Wolves, and so it's hard to know what they're going to start with, but there's going to be you just know there's going to be a variety of ways that they're going to try to guard. Okay, the Wolves' offensive strategy. As always, if we are decisive on the catch and in the pick and roll, and we take care of the basketball, we're very hard to guard. We could be a top 5 offense. If we are kind of lackadaisical and we're not decisive on the catch and we catch and we pause, which we see a lot of sometimes with our Ant and Randall, which are the main parts of our offense, then everything kind of stalls out and we can look like a bottom 10 in the league offense. And so it comes down to that. The Nuggets are going to allow allow you to shoot a lot of threes. You can't fall into that trap. And so I think the goal is to try to get it to the paint, find ways to get to the paint at a high volume. As you saw in the last game, as you're going to probably see some clips here on this episode of them just attacking the paint at a high level. That seemed to be a point of emphasis in that last game, and that was a good indication of what might be coming in the playoffs here as a point of emphasis from Finch and the staff. And then crash the glass at a high level. I think that's something that we have lacked throughout the season, and I think that we need to be able to do that. It's scary against Denver because they love to push it in transition, but we have the size advantage. We have the physicality advantage, I believe, and I think that we can get an advantage by getting some rebounds, especially Rudy. I think Rudy should be going all out for those rebounds, and I think that could be a big X factor in this series. Some of the actions that I think that the Wolves could really use that I think are going to be super effective against this Denver Nuggets team is this entry that is a free throw pin into what they could do is like a get action. That's like that pitch and chase where they throw it to the post and they come off of it. They love to run this of late. And the reason why they do this with McDaniels, they do this with Io, they do this with Ant, is it kind of gives you like a runway to be able to attack, and it creates some sort of catch and advantage to just straight line drive. Off of this, you could see that you could do a lot more like pick and rolls from the side or just get an advantage that way. So let's see. McDaniel's going to catch you. You get stuck on the screen. He just attacks right away, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. It's dominoes from there. Here's an example of the get action where you're going to see this is what I think is going to be one of the most used and effective actions in this series for the Wolves is this 4-out look that they're going to give. Right now they're in a 5-out look, but you're going to see Nas cut to that short corner area. You'll see Rudy probably in that short corner area, and it's going to be a 2-man game with Randall and Ant. It's super effective in this last game of this regular season series, and it's something that I think is going to be super effective for us. Even if we win this series going further, is their 2-man game that they're able to do with this get action. And so Ant's going to have it here. Like I said, he's going to throw it to Randall, and he's going to come and get it. There we go. Come get it. Handoff. Now, this creates an advantage, obviously. You have a couple options here. Ant's going to drive and attack. They know Nuggets are going to pack. Okay? So Randall's going to read that and know that if they're all going to be there, I don't need to go all the way down. I could pop out here and maybe get a good look for three. Ant's going to recognize that. He's going to attack this gap. Jokic has to make a decision. Okay. Am I going to leave and double right here and give Randall a wide open shot? Or do I stunt and get back and then hope that everyone can make it into the paint and take away Ant and force a kick out three? So let's see from there. We're going to kick it to Randall. Pretty open three. Okay, here's another example with this time with Rudy and kind of a side get action here. Rudy's going to get the ball from Ant, and Ant's going to come off of it. Now it's in a good position. Now the reason why, let me just back up a hair. Okay, now the reason why you do the get action. So let's just say Ant does not do the get action and he just calls up Rudy for a screen. Jokic can kind of get into a better position before that. But because Ant has the ball, before he starts passing it here, everyone's going to be kind of looking at him in the paint. That's kind of been how people have guarded Ant over the last couple of years. Everybody's going to be watching. Everybody's going to be watching because he's so good off the dribble, just beating any one-on-one matchup. And so this get action is super effective for the Wolves in the fact that if Rudy's just kind of lingering up here and Jokic is going to play way off of him because Rudy's not a shooting threat, go throw it to Rudy, create like almost a 2-on-1 situation, and Ant's a killer in this spot right here and able to get downhill. It's pick your poison at that point. So a handoff, great screen, gets this kill spot, boom. Last get action here, we have, again, Ant with the ball. He's going to throw to Randall. It's going to be a get situation, and then they're going to play it from there. Randall looks downhill, doesn't see what he likes. Then we can get Ant downhill. What I like about this one, if I pause it at this point, Randall has already read, okay, Jokic is going to stay way out behind me. Instead of kind of chucking up a three, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to do a dribble handoff action, okay? So these gets can turn into a lot of different things. It can turn into a dribble handoff. It can turn into pitch and pick. It could turn into a pick and pop. It could turn into just a ghost situation, which this kind of turns into that ghost situation where you're kind of doing the handoff and you're popping out. If they're going to go under the screen, which Braun was about to in that situation, you could just re-screen it, and then Ant could come the other way and attack downhill. It just opens up a variety of different things instead of a traditional pick and roll where Jokic can come up and not have to worry about the downhill drive. Ant's able to get more of a head full of steam. Jokic is not able to kind of play aggressively because if he plays up too high, Ant's just going to go right by him. He's not athletic enough for that. Sorry, I have a lot of scribbles here. If he plays too aggressively up here, Ant's just going to go right by him. If he's too far back, you're going to see that three, and that's kind of what you saw from this play. That's why this is so effective. You see shrug there. Are there any other things, like any other stats, just like right away, just kind of like jump out to you?
Yeah. I mean, I think we can get into this play type comparison here in the
Yes.
matchup preview as well.
I love this stat.
So this view is the offensive view. So this is from when the Wolves are on offense. And it's comparing our offense compared to their defense in the different play types. So we're sixth in isolation, points per possession. And on the defensive side, they're 23rd. So they're not a very good isolation defense. And transition to me is the biggest one, though. They're 30th. They're the worst transition defense in points per possession, and we're 8th in transition. We don't get it out in transition as much as I think we should. I think that's kind of been a focal point in the last part of the season. And I think guys like Io, I think I have team tab here. We can look at the players that push the pace the most. So if we look at, this is looking at the on-off impact. Let's remove the low minutes guys. So these guys are all players, Conley's kind of surprising, that push the pace. And I think Io is the one that stands out the most. I think he's going to get a lot of minutes, and it's going to be huge for him to push the pace and get out in transition. Some of these other bench guys can do it as well. I think our bench unit is a lot better at that, at pushing the pace. So I think that's going to be a big factor in this series.
I think that's going to be the big. You kind of saw this in that the game that we beat them this season, in the regular season. You saw that exact thing, the pushing of the pace, the active hands, the leading into transition. And that is where I think if you're just looking at these two teams and not thinking about the matchup, you go, I don't think the Wolves really have a chance, because you're just thinking about like how Jokic, we don't have a matchup for Jokic, but it doesn't necessarily come down to just like Jokic versus the Wolves. It's going to be all the other guys seeing it, who's going to win those matchups. And I think we kind of have that edge, I think, a little bit, especially with the addition of Io.
Definitely.
And this transition piece and even adding Kyle, which he's probably going to play a lot in this series. Like, I think personally, because I see him as someone who can come in and kind of spot Gobert. I know the matchup Gobert with Jokic kind of scares the crap out of everybody, because he just seems like he just scores at will. But I think if you kind of pair that with some Anderson supplement minutes on him, where you just wear him down a little bit, it's gonna create those. And he's pretty good at like creating turnovers too on Jokic, and I don't know. I just think I like that kind of make the 1-2 punch with them, and then kind of let Randall roam a little bit and kind of stick with his matchup there. But we'll talk matchups a different time. I just find it interesting,
Yeah,
like the
that's
kind of
interesting.
like in the playoffs, it's like all about the matchup. It's all about that, but it also shows like these regular season stats show, okay, where are the glaring weaknesses, and like you just pointed out with their transition defense, like that's something that the Wolves should be just like highlighting, and it seems like they have been.
Yeah.
All Finch talks about is like pace. We want to push it. We want to look to push it, get out and run. And the players talk about it too. So it kind of, I don't know. It might. If we're gonna win the series, that's gonna be one of the big X factors there.
Yep.
Let's jump to the defensive side of the ball here. Let's dive into the defensive end. The Nuggets are the best offensive team in the league. We're going to talk quite a bit about that statistically down the stretch or later in the episode here. They have a 5-out offense where they do a lot of off-ball actions to initiate their offense, and then they get into 3 basic concepts, which would be dribble handoffs, DHOs, pick and rolls, and some get actions, which we'll talk about in a second. But the thing with them is why they're so good offensively is this guy named Nikola Jokic. If you don't know who he is, Google him. I don't know how you don't, but if you're watching this and you're not really a basketball person, this is my time to teach you. So their 5-out motion offense centers around Jokic being a 5 guy who can distribute. And what makes the Nuggets so good is that he's kind of like a supercomputer. He's like if you took an AI like an AI generator and put it in the brain for basketball decision-making purposes. He's able to make those decisions so quickly, and this makes it very tough to stop this team or even slow them down at times. A lot of their offense is read and react from that. So they're going to be setting a lot of off-ball screens that are going to lead into some on-ball actions, just like you see all the time. Their offensive strategy is to create advantages, create mismatches, and force communication at a high level. One of those things the Wolves have had a rough time of doing this year during the regular season, and part of it is just because we just get bored with regular season basketball. But the third thing here, force to communicate at a high level. If they're setting these off-ball screens, they are elite at reading the defense. Their entire offense is structured around they know the answers. They just want to see what you're going to do, and then they're going to react to that. The only way to truly, you can't stop it, but the only way to slow it down is to have guys who are smart and will communicate at a high level and are able to defend man-to-man and keep their guy in front of you and force a tough shot. The Wolves have all three of that. It's just about the effort part of it, which obviously during the regular season was a big complaint for a lot of fans. Okay, some primary actions here. Now, the Nuggets start every possession with some sort of off-ball movement to create a switch or a mismatch. That's kind of their goal of these off-ball movements. You'll see a delay action where Jokic is bringing the ball down the floor. You'll see him doing that a lot, and there'll be some sort of screens happening on both sides of the floor looking for a miscommunication of some sorts. And then they'll lead to the secondary actions, which we'll get to in a second. They also run a lot of stagger, the classic flex. If you've played basketball forever, you know flex. They like to run that with Jokic to get him the ball and basically create so much confusion because of this inverted look that you're not used to there. And then they like to run the classic horns split action where the entry to the elbow and you have the back screen. They read and react pretty well from there. Now, their secondary actions, this is after every primary first part of their offense where they're just kind of doing some off-ball screening. It will always lead into one of these actions or these concepts at the end. A get action would be just a pass to the post, and then you'd come out and go and get it. That's why it's called a get action, or a dribble handoff. Those are very popular in the modern-day NBA because it makes it tough for you to do certain coverages against it because you have to be in certain spots. You can't just let them do a dribble handoff and drop back because they could just turn around and shoot, or they can just go, and it's hard to guard. That's why they do it quite a bit. We do it on our end too, so that's kind of fun. Pick and roll, classic pick and roll. The thing with the Nuggets is that they do this inverted pick and roll that has just caused a ton of headaches this year, where Jokic is the guy with the ball, and Murray might come up and set like a pick and pop, and it just creates chaos because those bigs are not used to being in that spot, and it's worked really well for them. And then we have the classic double drag action where it's just two ball screens on top, layered on top. They have a million options for that, how they read and react. Again, the goal for them is to kind of make you make a decision how you want to guard. They know the answers. They just want to see how you're going to do it, and then they're going to do whatever is the answer to that, if that makes sense. Now, the Wolves defense. Now, this is something. This is why this is such a good matchup if you're a basketball fan, because these two teams in the Wolves specifically, which I'll talk about later in the episode here, they do a great job of guarding the Nuggets compared to other teams because they have the personnel to do it, and I feel I like their game plan, which has been be very physical with Jokic and make him have to do everything offensively. And what I mean by everything is score. And he doesn't want to do that, but he'll put up those points. There'll be times where you lose, but your best bet is to make him just do everything. And you don't want him to facilitate and then be scoring in the background. You kind of want him to have to go all out, and that just kind of wears on you, especially in the 7-game series. And so I expect the Wolves to do the same thing. They have maybe some tweaks here and there with some matchups and some rotations based on what they do. The Wolves strategy. Now we're going to talk later in the pod about the active hands part of it, the turnover creation. But I do mention if we're playing with active hands, this Nuggets team does not turn the ball over a lot. If you can get them to turn it over, they are 30th in transition defense. And we've been doing very well on transition offense. And so, as you saw in that last game, and you'll probably see some clips here, that could be a great thing for us going down, especially in Denver, especially on the road. We need to play with some active hands throughout this whole series. Goal number 2 for the Wolves, I believe, is to contain players 3 through 15. It's going to be hard to stop Jokic and Murray. The only chance you really have in a series like this is to try to contain the other players. And that means not overhelping, not miscommunicating on any type of screen action on the backside, and giving wide open layups. You saw in the first quarter of the last game where we got off to a bad start because we weren't focused on the backside. We weren't communicating at a high level, and a lot of their role players, those 3 through 15 guys, were able to score quite a few points on just simple back cuts off of a screen. And so, we can't have that in this series. We need to be able to make Jokic and Murray have to just beat us, and go from there. Trust that our defense is solid. Gobert is solid. McDaniels is solid. Our guys coming off the bench will be able to hold their own. Make them have to score in isolation is the key, I think, for what the Wolves want. And like I said, play straight up. They're going to try their best. They're not going to try to switch everything. I think if the switches come, that's because you got stuck on a screen. But for the most part, they're going to try to stay in their matchup, just like they have. I mean, it's worked before against them. I can't see them making any drastic changes. Maybe you could see a zone, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but I feel like they're just going to kind of run it back because it's worked. Okay, so first clip here that I'm going to show and talk about is why we're looking to drop, and this is going to end with a make, but this is kind of what they're going to try to do. They're going to force Jokic to take shots in situations where he's taking a lot of elbow jumpers. That's not a high-value area, as we talk later in the episode. The Nuggets, and we talk on the doc, the Nuggets are going to want to take layups or corner threes. Those are their spots that they are super effective. They're the best in the league in those things. So the key to forcing them not to do that is to stay attached to the corners. Don't overhelp. Don't let your guy back cut. And to drop enough where there's not really any driving lanes to go to and get over and back to your guy off the screen. The key is to get through the screen effectively. Jokic is a very good screener, very physical, and so this is why this is it's a taxing way to guard, but if you have the personnel to do it, which I believe the Wolves do, you're able to get through those screens and at least make it as tough as possible for them, where some teams, they get stuck on this and it's just a downhill shootout and you have to help, and that's just one thing leads to another. That's part of why they're so effective. So playing through this here, as you can see, hits that drop. We're going to contest, and that's kind of what we want. We want to frustrate Jokic into making him take those shots just like that. Next here we have a split, Horns entry split action where this is an example of if you don't communicate effectively and you switch, you can get hurt for the 3 through 15 guys. This is why you can't switch. This is why you have to get through them. You have to bump and recover and stay with your guy, because if you switch and miscommunicate, and you have 2-on-1, and then one guy wide open, they're just so smart, and Jokic is just going to make the right decision every single time. So you can see here, play it through. There's a little miscommunication. Dante tries his best to recover, but can't really do that. So what I would do if I'm Dante, you got to get through. You are going to have to, you got to look and see he's already there. I think you just have to kind of backpedal right here and face this. You can't go and stunt any further out, because if they throw this, that's okay. We kind of have to live with it. Because Jaden's on the top side of it, he's going to be able to kind of get into a decent spot to be able to contest. And so you can't overhelp against these guys. If you overhelp, it's game over, and that's what happened right here. There's an overhelp, out of position, great pass, great play. So again, on their dribble handoff actions or their backside actions to start, their entries, staying attached is key. This is why they're going to stay attached. Again, they're going to maybe score on some of these situations, but it's about making them take the shots that they don't want to take. Remember, they want to take layups right at the hoop or corner threes. That's their big thing that they want to do. If they can get Jokic in a post situation, that's great too for them too. But those are the things that they want, and that's just like their high-value basketball. That's what they want. They're not worried about trying to get in a mismatch and let them kind of do their shots from whatever. They're just all about efficiency. And so if you can eliminate those spots by containing the ball up in this area, you're going to have a really good chance. And so to do that, you need to stay attached and keep everything above you. You're going to see an example of that staying attached. Jaden's going to do a great job trailing. Everyone's kind of containing, stunting, recovering. You're taking a tough shot outside of that paint. Another example here, Nas is going to stay attached on this pick and roll. Rudy's going to help at the last second, but as you can see here, it creates a very tough shot at the rim. You want this to be a contested shot. The only thing that you need to make sure that you do, if I can back it up here, is that you want to make sure that your guards are looking to rebound instead of just taking off and running. We got to get the ball first. We can't let the guards and Valanciunas kind of push their way through. If you're standing out here, let's get into that action.
I like what the playoffs though is, yeah, you get looks that you just don't see in the regular season, and they mix it up, and it's so much more of a tactical game. I think in the regular season you don't have that much time to prepare. You're playing a different team every other night, and also maybe a part of it is you don't want to show too much if you're playing late in the season against a team you know you might face. So in the playoffs we get to see some really interesting matchups there and defensive tactics.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Well, I'm sure you'll see quite a bit different variations of things, but the good thing is Ant's seen it all, I feel like, at this point, so nothing should surprise him. It's just about executing. Let's flip over to the defensive side a little bit, and what are some things that kind of stick out to you in this play type?
The obvious one is the post-up.
Yeah.
We're worst post-up defending team in the league, points per possession wise, and they're the fifth best. And Rudy is, one of the best defenders in the league, no doubt. He's fighting for Defensive Player of the Year somehow yet again. But post-up is not like defending a skilled big is not why he's the best defender. He's the best defender because he's great in drop coverage, like the best of all time. He's a really smart defender, great rim protection, help defense. So the one thing that isn't his like strongest suit is definitely that post up defending. The three players against Jokic that have guarded him the most this year, or that we'd expect to see a lot in the playoffs, are Randall, Gobert, and Nas. Randall actually had the most minutes against Jokic this season. He had 22 minutes. And in those 22 minutes, he gave up 43 points, 16 assists on 66.7% field goal percentage, three for three from deep. So, torched Randall. Gobert, same thing, 20 minutes, 34 points, 16 assists, 65% field goal percentage, 3 of 7 from three. And Naz Reid, this is brutal. He only played 4 minutes on Jokic. He gave up 21 points in 4 minutes. I don't know how that's statistically possible. I mean, I guess, it's the minutes he's actually guarding him, not like minutes on the court. So, yeah, 21 points, 3 assists, 80% field goal percentage. So, absolutely torched Naz Reid in the limited minutes. I don't think it'd be that bad over a bigger sample, obviously, but that's the biggest concern, I think, is what is our plan to stop Jokic? You mentioned Kyle Anderson. That's an interesting one. I didn't look into those stats. But yeah, what do we do? What do we throw at them? What are your thoughts on that?
Again, it's going to be just a revolving door of guys. Like, I even just think back to like 2 years ago when we were playing them, and it was just like we're throwing in Cat at him. We'll have a little bit of a Rudy run against him. Nas will guard him for a little bit. Kyle was guarding him for a little bit. Like, it's just throwing different looks at him and different people.
I think Cat, that was like Cat's best matchup I've ever seen is him against Jokic.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why that worked, but it did. He's a big enough body. I don't know. Quick enough, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. But having that extra big and that we don't have now, be able to guard Jokic and then have Rudy just be on rim protection duty. I think that was so huge in that series. That's like my biggest concern, I think.
Yeah. I think
is losing that.
Yeah. I think you just have to have a guy with like a really strong base. Like Carl has a pretty like strong base. He's very lanky and seems awkward, but like he's pretty solid. Like when he's standing up, guys, he's pretty solid.
Yeah.
It's interesting, the 8 turnovers. I'm trying to think if that's like a lot in that 22-minute span. Is that 8 turnovers? Yeah, 8 turnovers.
Yeah, against Randall. Yeah, he turned it over. Yeah, 8 times. His career average is 2.5.
Yeah.
That is a bright spot, I would say, is that Randall generated some turnovers, which um, with Jokic is he's usually up around that three assists for every turnover. So
Yeah,
yeah, I mean Randall does have that base that you're talking about for sure. He's
yeah,
got the strength. Um, the concern with Randall is it's more off ball and like focus,
yeah,
and his lateral quickness is I think really pretty poor at this point.
yeah,
But with Jokic, he's not a quick player anyways, so maybe we see some improvement in that matchup.
for sure. Yeah, and I think that's kind of like I'm trying to think like as a coach, like as Finch, like what are you trying to like force? Like, what do you want? It's kind of pick your poison with Denver. It's like, what do you want them to do? And their goal, it's always seems like it's been this way ever since, even when Carl was here. It was like Jokic is going to get his points. We're okay with that. We got to limit everything else, and that kind of
Yeah,
proved to be. I think teams kind of like took that model after we beat them in the playoffs a couple years ago. Like I think from that point on, it's been kind of a different because everyone's been trying to like don't let Jokic get his points because he's going to do whatever. But I think they just tried something different and then it worked. And now
mm,
it's been a struggle for them to in the playoffs to get to that point because in regular season he's able to do whatever he wants. But like when he gets to the playoffs, like you can't really like have that load and play as a post.
that's a lot.
It's a
It's a lot,
lot. It's a
and the
lot.
way he plays, yeah,
Especially
yeah,
when you come out of the
I
game and you don't
totally
really
agree.
have somebody who's like you who can like light it up.
Yeah,
Like Murray being back is helpful. He's been playing pretty well. Um, and
yeah. I
so
mean, their non-Jokic minutes are a disaster.
yeah, yeah, it'll be interesting. I think they're gonna try a bunch of different things and but yeah, you had a nice you had an interesting tweet about the Denver like what makes Denver so effective offensively with their ball screens and their handoffs. And
Mm.
I'm gonna do some like clips and breaking down their offense because their offense is incredible. And part of the big part is Jokic is like a super computer. It's like having like an AI basketball player um, brain out there.
Yeah,
The analyzing everything is
yeah,
super fast.
yeah, yeah. So a big part of their offense is handoffs and pick and rolls involving Jokic. They're third in the league in screen assist points per game, 20.4 points per game. So that's um, generating uh, generating points off of a screen action, and they're second in handoff frequency. So they run a lot of handoffs with Jokic. Um, and I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about who do we have that can kind of help break that up and is good at guarding in the pick and roll. And I was looking through the stats. Basketball Index, B-Ball Index has some good stats about screen navigation, where they look at which defensive players can navigate this ball screens the best. And Io is fourth best in the league in ball screen navigation. Um, and I pulled some clips that show that he does a really good job of I think getting out and over that screen. He's very agile and can kind of avoid it and squirm his way around um, and get a good contest. So again, we talk about Io on the transition aspect, but defensively too. I think this is an area that he excels in. So to me, I mean, I'm looking at him as like the biggest X factor I think in this series. And I would like to see him in the starting lineup as well, or at least get starting lineup type minutes.
I and I think it's interesting because like Dane Moore was kind of talking about this on I don't know if you've listened to his like most recent stuff. Like he's secretly under the radar, kind of pushing it. Um,
Mm.
it's been interesting that like people were kind of saying that like we were kind of lacking that like who's gonna be that screen navigator? Who's gonna be that screen navigator? And I'm like, oh, have we not been watching Wolves basketball? I think Io is incredible at it. Um, I'm kind of curious, like, you probably don't have that at the top of the head, like where Dante would be in this. in that sense, because I feel like he's gotten better at screen
Yeah.
navigating, but he's just not very good at like keeping his guy in front of him. Um, which
Yeah.
yeah, he works hard, but he's just not
Yeah,
as
I mean, when he gets locked in and he's like up in their face, I'm just like, I almost want him to just take a breath and like stand back a bit. Don't get a foul. Don't do anything dumb. He gets like so, I don't know, up in their grill. He seems like out of control on defense at times. I don't think he's like the smartest defender.
uh, yeah, yeah.
He's got great contests. I love his rim protection is amazing. Is when he goes straight up and just launches in the air.
Yeah,
Love that.
he he does a lot of like a lot of stuff. This kind of stuff though, like just watching it is what we got Io for. We were missing that Na, and Na was incredible at, and he still is incredible at like
Mhm.
navigating those screens. He's like he gave Murray the most fits, and so like the Io acquisition is just like the most important, probably one of the most important
Yeah,
things that
it's
happened this
perfect
year.
fit for this series. It's like we got him for this series.
Yeah. And like
Yeah.
kind of like a side note here, like I feel like the Wolves, how we play basketball during the season can be frustrating because it's like sometimes you just don't match up against teams. But our care is like, all right, we want to match up well against Denver, and we want to match up well against the Thunder, where we didn't see that last year. But I think this year, I feel like we have a much better like Thunder matchup if we do get to that point, um, there where we can face off with them, where we have much more levers to pull than we did
Mhm.
even last year with those top three teams, with the Spurs even too, as well as you saw like some of the regular
Mhm.
season games. But yeah, he's definitely going to be huge for us down the stretch, and so yeah, that's pretty.
I'm just pulling up Dante's ball screen navigation.
Oh,
Average. Nothing special.
okay.
Um,
So it's
so
my mind that he's
the
working
IO
really
is
hard.
amazing. I think so.
Yeah.
It looks like he's doing a lot.
He's looking, yeah, that's a perfect way to
But
describe
our
it.
second best is Jaden. That's not surprising. Jaden and actually Conley as well. Conley's right around Jaden's level. So
Conley is pretty good
um,
at that screen
he
navigation,
is. Yeah.
and sneaky good. And he's good at getting those like fouls, which is kind of like underrated.
That's a great point. Yeah, getting those fouls on the screens. He's by far the best at that on our team.
It's got to be so annoying when you're the opposing team fan and you're just watching that and you just know it's gonna. You can see it coming. It
Dude,
always is an illegal
yeah.
screen. Like he obviously sells it really well, but like you see it coming from like a mile away, and it happens, and it's just like it
You're
always is in the perfect time.
you're a coach, you might know more on this, but like I don't know. I feel like the illegal screen is such a hard call to make, and you kind of have to sell it. If you don't sell, you're not going to get the call. That's kind of how I feel.
Yeah, I'm kind of like a huge hater of illegal screens because it's just like, and especially in this like how people play basketball nowadays, it's impossible to officiate that fairly. It's almost like a kind of like
Yeah,
a charge. Which I'm like not a huge charge fan to begin with either, which sounds kind of crazy, but like it's just hard.
oh, I
I don't
agree.
like calls where it's very like it's like a kind of like a judgment. Like you can have a call an illegal screen almost every time down the court, but like it
Every
always
time,
happens
that's what
at
I'm saying.
times.
Yeah,
Same with like blocking and charge calls. Like I mean, the NBA doesn't really happen that often, but like in high school basketball, it's like guys are just like selling out. It's just very
yeah,
dangerous play, and then also just like, did they get there in time, or how do we know that they got there in time?
yeah.
We have no evidence of that. We can't review it, so it's like, yeah, it's it's
Oh
same with
yeah. In
this
lower
game.
levels, I totally think charges, yeah, are bad, and it should just not be a call that they should ever make. I don't know if they can get rid of it completely or what they could do, but yeah, when I was back in the day when I was playing, I had some pretty bad injuries from that.
Yeah, 'cause you're going full speed, and all of a sudden there's a guy just like right in front of you, not moving at all. And you're expecting them to jump up,
Yeah.
and they don't, and then it's yeah, kind of a dangerous play nowadays. Do you have anything else defensively, or should we move on to my favorite part, the scatter tool?
So yeah, we have the scatter tool. If you go down, select scatter tool on that sidebar, it will pull up this page here, and it defaults to player, but you can also go to teams. That's what we'll go to now. Um, and you can just select your x-axis and y-axis. So there's a couple ones I want to look at. Let's see. One good one was, we touched on it, just the hustle stats. So if you look at contested shots versus deflections, so I think this is an interesting view to kind of see how active teams are on the defensive end. And Denver is like the least active team in the league. They don't have a lot of deflections. They don't contest a lot of shots, where we are almost in that upper quartile. We contest a lot of shots. Deflections, we're slightly below average, but I would say middle of the pack. So yeah, this is again going back to Denver, just not being a team that's going to apply a lot of pressure and cause a lot of turnovers. I think that will bode well for us.
Yeah, this is like a great, like, this shows exactly like the effort. I feel like, especially like from coaching perspective, I'm like, you want to be in that, obviously, that top right
OKC
quadrant here, where
insane.
OKC is insane. You see that, you watch that, you know that
Yeah.
these two stats kind of show like what you see. Then you have like the
Yeah.
Suns on the other end, where it's like, if you watch their games, they're like like very active hands, but they are kind of like all over the place, and it kind of matches why they're kind of in the play-in zone. We have the Wolves. We're kind of in the middle. We can go up, down, wherever, but like it's good that we're on like kind of like the right side. The Nuggets, watching them, and you watch some clips, and you look at the comments on the clips, it's like, man, they just look like they're just like hoping that the team misses.
Yeah.
Like, how can we give the minimal amount of effort so that we can go push it the other way
Yeah.
and go play
And
some offense?
yeah, and I don't think they have the personnel to necessarily like flip the switch in the playoffs.
No.
They're going to the try level will be higher, but um, I don't think they have the personnel to really um, make it a huge improvement there.
Yeah, it's that's I mean that's a perfect depiction of kind of both those defenses and defenses around the league. Next one I thought was interesting was the clutch true shooting and the clutch net rating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So if you look at clutch true shooting percentage, and then go to clutch, go to net rating. Um, so yeah, I think earlier in the year, I think we were better in clutch. Definitely in true shooting. Ant was by far and away the best clutch efficient player, highest true shooting percentage. It's leveled off a little bit. He's still, top 10 in the league, top five, I think. Um, but our net rating is actually below. I think it's slightly negative, negative 1.2. And that I think mostly has to do with the turnovers.
mhm,
And then on the defensive end, I think sometimes we have some lapses. But neither team really stand out in the clutch. But I think because a lot of our clutch woes were because of turnovers, if we can avoid that, I think
mhm.
in the clutch we could probably steal some games here.
Yeah, it
Denver's hidden behind Portland here,
yeah, it's
maybe.
that again. That's another one that just kind of matches. We're at both those teams kind of on that right on that line of we have both teams have extremely clutch players. I feel like. I mean, and I think is at another level in this entire series.
Yeah.
Jokic can be clutch at times, but I feel like he's not really known for that. Murray's had some clutch moments, but I don't know. Yeah, that would be interesting. Well, there's gonna be a lot of clutch time in the series. That is a fact. If there's not, then
Yeah.
something crazy happened. I mean, I guess the last time we played, we had a couple blowouts, and
There's a lot of blowouts. That's
yeah,
right. Yeah.
so maybe
There's like a
not.
blowout back and forth,
Maybe it'll be kind of one of
which is
those
unexpected.
again. Yeah, interesting.
I hope not. I don't,
I hope not. I
I
don't
don't
like
think
blowouts.
so.
I'd rather have close games.
No. Yeah.
Another one I
That's when
found
you get the historic moments. Yeah.
exactly. Another one I found interesting was the paint field goal percentage versus the corner three.
Yeah, so if we go to shooting here, we can look at the paint field goal percentage, and then the corner three. So the reason I this one is just to kind of get an idea, get a look at what Denver really does well in offense. We know they're the best offense in the league, but I think this kind of shows you some of their strengths. So they are the best team field goal percentage in the league, and in corner three is top five ish. So I think that really just speaks to Jokic in the post, and then kicking it out to guys that are wide open because he has so much attention on him. So I think that this is where they really thrive. Um, a lot of these you'll see, most of these charts were like right kind of in the
Hmm.
middle. Um, like we talked about earlier, we are definitely a more well-rounded team, but we're just lacking like those one or two things where we're like elite at.
Yeah. I this when I was watching, I did a lot of like deep dive in the film today, watching the Nuggets, and another thing that like makes them have a high paint field goal percentage, I think, is like their cutting, and
Mm.
like Jokic is always finding guys on backdoor cuts and just leads to like wide open layups. Um,
Yeah, that's a great point. Easy shots,
yeah,
from a assist from Jokic. Yeah.
and a lot of teams that guard, like there's a lot of not like I don't know if it's just like they kind of just try to pick their poison and do whatever, but like it. I go back to the Wolves. I feel like they have a great game plan against the Nuggets, and we definitely have the personnel to be able to do something like that. But I think we're gonna try it. We don't really give up a lot of cuts against them. It happens some often, but not as often as other teams, and so I can see this game balanced out a
Interesting.
little bit more.
I
Um,
mean, yeah,
we
I'd have to look at the stats, but I feel like we do give up a lot of cuts just due to lack of
we
focus
yeah
at times. Um, I don't know. I'd have to pull the numbers, but that's one thing that's been a theme, I think, with specifically Ant and Randall,
yeah
just kind of turning off on defense and losing their guy. Even not even a cut, sometimes it's just an open three,
yeah.
and they just kind of lose track of their guy.
I do know how we play defense. Supposed to not give up cuts based on
So the style
the
of
style of
defense, yeah.
defense and the times it happens. Definitely in the regular season, they're like it happens every single game with Ant and Randall in the regular season, where it's like once or twice a game at minimum. You see
They
the
just kind of, yeah,
replay, and it's like a guy backdoor just cuts, gets a wide open
yeah,
dunk, and it's Ant standing there going, "Whoops!" It's just,
yeah,
like I just went right by me. Where you
yeah.
hope that doesn't happen as much in the playoffs, so you're a little bit more locked in on that. But they're
Mhm.
supposed to, based on how they're playing defense, where they're kind of want to stay attached to their matchups. They're not trying to like help too much so that the cut happens or switch anything. And so that should help a little bit with this. But it is interesting.
Yeah.
If we're gonna get beat, that's where we're gonna get beat.
Hmm.
Corner threes and cuts. What about defensive turnovers and offensive turnovers percentages?
Yeah. We touched on this a bit, but we can this is a good visual. So if you go to the four factors, they have an offensive view and defensive view. So we can look at the turnover percent, offense and defense on both ends. We talked about how this could be um, one of the keys to the series.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you can see Denver, they don't turn it over. Their turnover percent on offense is 12.8%. Only OKC is better. And then on the defensive side, they don't produce any turnovers. They're dead last um, at 11.7%. And again, we're right there in the middle of the pack on both of these. So I actually thought our offensive turnover percentage would be higher. Um,
Yeah,
it's kind of an interesting visual
that
of how
is.
smart they are on offense and how lazy potentially they are in defense.
I feel like we have cut down a little bit on the turnovers. From what I noticed, and we've created more turnovers, and so kind of maybe that's why it's balanced out. I think at the beginning of the year, if we would have looked back, we would have probably been in like a more low, the bottom right, which is the quadrant of doom. You could look at those teams down
Yeah.
there. Well, I guess some of them are
Yeah.
pretty scrappy, but um, yeah, you kind of want to be, I would say, either in the middle or in that top left corner. If I was going to pick a
Yeah, I mean,
quadrant to be
OKC, man, they
anywhere,
just jump
OKC
out.
is
They're
good.
just every single stat. It's like they ruin scatter chart on
They
every
do.
stat.
They are robots.
Yeah.
They are robots.
Yeah.
This is the
Nuts.
big thing. Yeah, like we touched on earlier. This is the series right here, in my opinion. And the fact that we are kind of known for turning the ball over, they're not known for creating turnovers. It's going to come down to like, can we create more turnovers than like can we kind of double up the amount of turnovers, if that makes sense, like the turnover battle.
Hmm.
If we can, we're going to be in a
Hmm.
lot of the games, if not winning them, because our transition offense has gotten a lot better, and that's how we've gotten a lot of points of in the third part of the year, I guess. So I mean, that's you couldn't see a better visual of of where those
Yeah.
teams are. I find it interesting that San Antonio and Boston are down there, but I guess it's like they don't turn the ball over and they're average at creating turnovers.
Yeah, defensively. Yeah, that is interesting. I think San Antonio would be higher defensively.
Yeah,
Um, hmm,
you think they'd be like kind of where like Miami would be, maybe a little bit higher,
yeah,
but
yeah.
interesting. Last one I thought was, or you thought
Yeah,
was
this
interesting.
doesn't really correlate with like these three teams are all really good, which is interesting,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I think, yeah. I guess sometimes teams don't value like creating turnovers and versus just like being solid, and so I guess those are just like
Hmm.
those two. Like Boston's a very solid defensive team where they're just like in the right spot all the time. San Antonio, they have
Yeah,
Wemby, so it's like you don't really like go crazy and try to sell out because you have that guy that's gonna help.
true,
So
true.
I
Yeah,
don't
you
know.
don't need to. No point.
It is interesting to see that though. Last one you had here was the pick and roll man points per game or points per play, sorry, and then screen assist.
Yeah, so they're elite in these
Mm-hmm.
categories as well. So I think this kind of shows their offense as well. A lot of screen assists um, coming from well, first of all, they just run a lot of ball screen action, and then the pick and roll man, getting Jokic involved off of that action as well. He's one of the most efficient players in general. So
Hmm.
yeah, what jumps out to you here?
I feel like this is interesting because I looked up earlier, like a month ago, for Gobert, just like in general, like his screen assists, um, versus I can't even remember what I was doing a scatter plot for, but he was in a whole nother dimension. Like he was just an absolute. It was. I think it was the. I used one of your preset ones where it was like,
Yeah, the player,
oh, what was it called? The
the
hidden
hidden
impact. That
impact,
one.
yeah, versus box out.
Yeah, Gobert was on another planet. There he is.
Yeah, yeah,
And so like the value, I feel like the value of the things that he does that doesn't show up at box scores like is way up there compared to like you can see Jokic too in that
yeah.
and
I
that
love this one. Yeah, this is a great visual of that.
yeah. But on the flip, like as a team though, like we don't hit the roll. We never hit the roll man really. like
That's the problem. Yeah, never.
so that's probably what it's kind of
Yeah,
surprising how high we are on that like that one you just had up with
yeah,
the fact that we must get a bunch of points off of like I'm sure Nas gets some rolls to the rim. Um, Anderson's been getting some getting some action too. But like when we do hit Rudy, and go, it's about 75% of the time it's like, oh, that was actually okay, versus the 25% where it's just like, what? Why are we? What is he doing? Like, don't throw him the ball anymore. It's like you never get like a full like good decision. Oh, he just missed it. It's either he made it look really cool, like he catches the ball and does like a Euro step dunk, and you're like,
yo,
whoa,
I
okay,
know he has those plays where it's like, wait, why doesn't he do this more?
yeah,
Like, should we be doing this more?
yeah,
Like, he'll have these plays where he'll do a crazy euro and a finish, and he leads the league in field goal percentage. At least he was all year.
yeah.
I don't know if he still is. But like you'd think, okay, yeah, he's a center, he just dunks it. But it's not all dunks. Like is actually
Hmm.
somehow good around the rim
Hmm.
at finishing. It's just getting it's just catching the ball
Yeah,
and getting to that position. That's a challenge for him. But he is actually a good finisher.
yeah.
So
I think Wolves hot.
yeah, it's
I think
so
it's
frustrating.
hot or Wolves hot box scores. I can't remember his exact thing. Great follow on Twitter. He said it best. Where I think he said, like Rudy does good about like 95% of the time, and then he has a 5% of the game where he does something that's just like the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen, and it just kind of like ruins the like
Yeah,
the flow of
the
the game,
feeling.
the feeling of the
Yeah.
game. But
Mm-hmm.
like you said, yeah, number one in field goal percentage.
So I just pulled up, yeah, his leaderboard, like where he leads league is in the top 20 league wide. So yeah, he's number one in effective field goal percentage and field goal percentage, 2 point field goal percentage. Um, he does. He's a guy that does certain things extremely well,
Yeah,
and then other things extremely poorly.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, total rebounds, he's up there as well. Number two in total rebounds, four in blocks, five in defensive win shares. So yeah, does a lot of things really well.
yeah. I think Dane Moore also talked about this. He's been talking about it for like 3 years, and I completely. This is the biggest thing I agree with anybody on Wolves, like social media, is if Rudy he started doing it where he gets that ball and he does he wants him to do that Hartenstein like just kind of
Shot,
push shot, throw it up, and like
yeah,
master that. If he could master that, just that one shot, he would probably score us like 10 points a game just on that because
yeah,
we could just throw it
yeah,
to him every single time and he just catch and turn and go because everybody the
yeah. There's
entire
one season where it felt like he was like gonna that was gonna be the
yeah,
thing, and it kind of just fell off.
yeah. I think he found the value in just like going to the rim. You're going to get fouled, and it's. I
Yeah.
mean, he does a great job of getting fouled. It just like comes
What's
down to making free throws.
what's going on with his free throws though?
Man,
Another on the app here, you can see the trend,
ooh yes,
the career progression. If you go to free throw percentage, I mean, it's just falling off a cliff,
yeah,
52.6%. Um, I feel like last year's even higher than, I guess it was maybe at some points in the year. I know he was
he was
over
doing really well
70%.
last year. Really well last year.
Yeah,
Like
he
it didn't. Even, it
was. He was
wasn't
like,
even.
I feel like it was like 75%.
It wasn't even like a topic of discussion at that point anymore because it was
No,
like the year before.
no.
But
And this year it's just cratered. So I don't know what's going on there, man.
yeah, I know my
That
father
needs
in
to
law. That's his
improve.
biggest. He says it every time. Every time he goes in. Wow, if Rudy could just make his free throws, that's his
Yeah,
biggest.
and I don't know. Yeah. We have so many like you talked about the levers to pull. Man, it's just gonna be so interesting to watch
Yeah,
what Finch does. I don't know if you're a Finch fan or not. I know that's a
I
huge debate.
I love Finch. I
Okay.
yeah, I'm a huge Finch stand. Like, what if Yon
To
like
me,
what if we just throw Yon like you could like it's gonna look raw. It's gonna look. But if you are in a
he's
pickle, like Gobert's
yeah.
in foul trouble, Anderson's not holding up, we can't get any stops in Jokic. He's doing whatever he wants. Throw in Yon and just like see what like you have that option too. Like we have this is the most options we ever had.
Yeah, he looks really lost on defense
He
though.
does.
I feel like.
And he'll,
Um and I thought he'd be a better defensive player. I mean, I know
yeah, he's 19
it's
and
so hard to he's 19 to
raw.
be in the NBA like raw, but I thought, just his athleticism, but there's just so much more to it than that. And he looks really lost and not ready on the defensive end. He actually looks like better on the offensive end,
Yeah,
I think, than I expected.
yeah,
Making his free throws a few games ago, he had, like, I think he at least made four straight. Um, so, but yeah, I don't know. With Finch, I just worry about the rotations
hmm
and if he's going to get that right. And I think that's really hard to do in this series. I want Io to play a lot.
yeah,
I don't want Conley to play a lot. I know he's been playing well. I love Conley. I don't know. Maybe you pull that lever when you need to, but not in default. Like
yeah,
I don't know. I want to see other guys out there.
yeah,
But, so if you go through a rotation, like what we have 9 to 10 guys now that have shown us something.
yeah.
in the last month. And so, yeah, who's on the bench in the rotation, do you think?
I think it's literally going to be like dependent on a lot of things. I think there's you could still go that 9 or 10, but not consistently. So I think it's going to be that you have the 8, so it's Nas automatically, Io's automatic, and then I think Kyle's going to be pretty automatic in this series.
That was automatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's those 3 off the bench automatically. I think you got to go Bones. I think you're going 9 for sure. Like they're going to get those
Yeah.
their minutes. And
And
that
you got Shannon.
yeah. And then it's like if
It's
we
TJ and
need this is like a break glass. We have Conley, Clark, Shannon, Yon. And it kind of depends
so you
on
think that's
yeah.
game by game
It's game
if
by
we need
game.
it?
Yeah.
I think you're right. Yeah.
I think it's that's just how they've been doing it
Yeah.
the whole year. Like I think it's been hard for like Wolves fans in general to try to figure out like one guy like we have to kind of like you got to put yourself in like the coach's perspective like in Finch and how he thinks. Like he's a big on like consistency of like opportunities and minutes for the top guys. Like he's not going to sacrifice. It's not like a Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr's like the complete opposite where it's like he's going with the flow. I need this. I'm going to sub it. It doesn't matter
Finch is
what the
not
minutes
like
are
that.
at. Like he's going to just like yank a guy and Clark's coming in off the end of the bench. Like or they're going to just sub in Enrique. Like that's what if Steve Kerr was our coach, that's what he like you'd see Enrique Freeman minutes like randomly just in the middle of a game and you'd be like what is going on?
I don't want to see it, man.
Some
With
people
this
do like,
roster,
yeah.
I want to see it.
It's kind of like
Yeah.
it's a what's it called? It's like a coaching philosophy. It's like
Mm-hmm.
there's no right or wrong way to do it, but like it's for some people that's like what they want to see. For some people, like I like the consistency of it because then we get the playoff time. Those guys trust you more, and you can see the success we've had the last couple of years. Like something it works.
Yeah.
It's hard to argue that at
I
that point,
think,
but you know.
yeah. I think TJ Shannon, it was a little too late.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, he's had a great stretch here, but I just don't. I don't know.
But
I don't know if he's going to see a lot of time.
but again, last year he had a game against the
Hey,
Thunder.
OKC.
Huge,
Yeah, he
huge
was
game.
great.
Like that kind of
Oh
stuff.
yeah,
That'll happen.
yeah. I guess. Yeah.
Like you're gonna have a Bones.
I think Bones. I want to see Bones, and
Yeah.
I guess I don't want to be a Conley hater. I just want to see Bones over Conley. I'm worried about that. Finch just loves Conley.
I know. I think
And
I think the only time you see Conley is if you need some like defensive. I know it's like if you look at he
think
can't
so.
guard
I
anybody.
don't know.
But like this is a matchup for Conley. This is like a team that
That's what I'm saying. And Finch has seen that, and he's gonna be like, I have to do it.
But
He can't hold it. He can't help himself.
Bones has a grudge against Denver, so like not like an actual grudge,
exactly.
but like he has like that like. So
Yeah.
you might not see a lot of Conley unless something's going, I think, really bad. Like those are the break glass guys.
All right,
Unfortunately,
we'll come back to this.
Like that's just where I'm at with that. But I don't know. I guess it's game by game at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Cool.
let's get to predictions. Just overall, I guess. Do you think this is gonna be like I think we could both agree it's probably not gonna be a sweep.
No. Yeah. I don't think
if
so.
it's a
That'd be
sweep,
crazy.
something went awesome or something went horribly wrong.
Someone got injured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
wood.
we're at the like 5, 6, or 7 game series. Well, do you think it goes 7 games again?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's just has to be the default with these two teams and the rivalry and the history. I see it going 7. What about you?
It's hard to not say it goes 7, and so
Yeah.
and I would love if it went 7.
Here,
If it went 7,
here's
I
the
think
thing.
yeah.
I can see Denver winning in 6. I don't know if I can see the Wolves winning in 6. I don't know, to be honest. There's too much up in the air, and we don't know what we're gonna see. Like Ant, people are commenting he's looking a little bit out of shape. Is he fully back? And Ant he's a playoff performer,
Yeah.
so I have no doubt in my mind he's gonna explode and he's gonna have games where he goes off. But will he be able to do it every game and at a high level defensively too. I don't know. That's yet to be seen. And then from the rotation aspect
Yeah.
too. Like we've seen like guys in the last month really pick it up and show some things. And so what's Chris Finch gonna do to put everything back together now that we're healthy? And what will those rotations look like? Just feels like the chemistry is kind of up in the air with we haven't gotten a lot of minutes together. Besides, the main starting lineup who's played more minutes than any lineup in the league.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah.
Well, I was very happy to see today, like a lot of the ESPN prediction stuff comes out, and like all the other like talking heads are picking games at this point. I did like to see a lot of teams picking, or a lot of people picking the Nuggets. I think ESPN went 10-0 Nuggets.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
and so
I
and our
yeah.
guys look at that stuff. They really do. They thrive on like knocking off a team. Like they go up a whole nother level, and I don't know. I feel like we have this is the most. I've said this all year, especially after the IO trade and getting Kyle back. This is the most like levers we have had to pull or been able to pull in the entire run that we've had in the last couple of years. Like we've always been
If we
like
lose, it's
one.
on Finch then.
Yeah,
It's
we.
on Finch if we lose.
It could
I
be.
agree.
It could be.
It's like there's so much here. What do you? I mean, he's
Yeah.
got a big task in front of him. I think to get this right. It's
Yeah.
not easy.
Yeah. And
And
yeah, you
that's where I'm like, the vibe of this season has felt kind of like change is coming if we lose this series.
yeah.
Um, so I don't know. You're taking Wolves though. It sounds like you're taking Wolves in 7.
I'm taking Wolves in 7, and I don't. I'm not. I'm bold enough to say Wolves in 5 would be crazy to say.
Let's go. Wolves in 5.
Well, what if
That sounds good.
I'm gonna my
Sounds nice.
gut says Wolves in 5, but like obviously my brain's going Wolves in 7. Like it just like the series, I can't imagine it going less than 7 games if it does.
Yeah.
But like my heart is like saying we have this is just the stars are aligning right here. Like I feel like we felt this way the last couple of years going into the playoffs. We're like, ooh, I don't know, this is gonna be tough. And
Yeah.
then we have a little chip on our shoulder. We've gotten a little bit better. If the only way it would go backwards is if something happens that's
Yeah.
so I don't know. It'll be interesting,
I
but
yeah.
yeah.
I think well, first of all, I'm not good at predictions, so
Me neither. Me neither. I'm scared to make predictions.
yeah. Yeah. I think it's a toss up either way, but if I had to say I would pick Denver in 7. Um I'm just the possibility of us crashing out, and I don't know. I worry about that, and us like looking to the future of like is this the last year that Finch is going to be the coach, or that Rand will get moved in the off season?
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I just see a world where that could happen.
Yeah.
I hope not. But
This is a sliding glass door playoff. Like whatever happens, it'll change. I mean, it always does, but
yeah,
this
because I
is like
think
a
I
real
think a lot of fans. I think a lot of fans want to see us like what's the next Ant era?
yeah.
What's that team going to look like? I think people are like anxious to see that, and if
Yeah.
they don't see something really positive and like some growth in this playoff run, I think a lot of people are going to be asking for that. So
Yeah. Gosh. Yeah, it'll be crazy. This is gonna be a fun couple months here, no matter what happens. It's gonna be kind of crazy. I don't know if I'm
mhm.
ready, especially with
I can't wait, man.
all
I
the link
can't wait.
stuff that's been
Just
going on
please
too.
give us give us a couple series at least. I just playoff basketball is so fun. Give
Yeah,
me at least 2 series.
as long as I say this at the end of every like Wolves talk, anytime there's doubt, as long as we have Anthony Edwards, I'm always going to believe that we're going to go as far as we probably can. Like that's
Yep.
just what at this point, at this iteration of him, I'll always believe. And so,
Yep. It's just yeah,
yeah,
it's just a health thing for me.
for
But if
sure.
he's healthy, the sky's the limit. We can win any series
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
Well, I want to let you plug what you got cooking here for us here. Um,
Yeah.
just kind of like something on the. I don't want to tease. I don't want to take the floor too much from you. But
Yeah,
what do you
we
have cooking
teased it
here
a
in the
bit
future?
earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one thing I've been doing a lot of updates on the site. One thing we added recently is like an overall NBA view and all the other teams' views.
Mhm.
So it's not just Wolves. If you want to
Yes.
see how the Hawks are doing, get like a Hawks view or whatever, you can get that. And you have the overall NBA view, so you can compare all players across the league and all teams. That's fun.
Yeah. I was
It can
using
make
that
it more of a
today
one-stop shop.
for sure. I was like diving deep into it because
Yeah,
I'm like, I need to know like which teams are good. Like that thing was now I don't even have to use NBA.com or ESPN to.
that's the
I can
goal.
just be
Yeah.
on this one website for basketball. It's great.
Yep. The goal is to have people use it, and when they find themselves going away from it, like, why did you do it? And we'll add it to the site. That's what I tell my friends. So another big thing, hopefully, hopefully by the time this is out, we'll have it up. We have an iOS app, so an iPhone mobile app, which is going to make it super easy to follow along in the playoffs. The in-game tab, I think, is really good as you're watching the games. Um, and so you can kind of see who's performing well and get team stats um, as well, and you can get this easy view of the players and their performance, and it kind of highlights for you what's going well and what's not for each player. Or if you want like a traditional box score view, you can have that as well. Because I know some people are traditionalists; they like just the traditional box score view. And we do on the player section, we do have clips. It's kind of spotty. The NBA is a little bit hit or miss on clips, so don't want to promote that too much, but it may or may not be there as the game is going on. So
I think
yeah, I think the mobile app is really exciting for us. We're going to do an announcement on Twitter and another giveaway. So follow Wolfwise Statistics on Twitter. So follow us there and keep an eye out. And then, yeah, download the app and follow along in the playoffs.
awesome. Yeah. If you haven't checked it out, I literally spent multiple hours on it today, and some of it was like me just like going, "Oh, I think this is new. I'm gonna look at this a little bit." Like, and I was like, I gotta focus on like Nuggets, Wolves, where we at?
Yeah,
But you really get sucked into stuff. And it's like if you're a stats person, this is like your dream website, and you want almost every sport that you follow to do something like this. And I'm not just saying that because you're on here. Like, I literally like think that every sport should have something like this. Where it's
thanks,
just
man.
easy to navigate database for all things in
Yeah,
sport. But again, thank you for coming on. Hopefully, we have another one of these chats for the next round. Break down
do
the
it.
next series. But yeah,
Sure.
thanks for coming on. Go Wolves, and hopefully we'll see you again here soon.
All
Peace.
right, thanks.